Good evening, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the board retreat for Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. Please join me in saluting the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Again, as a reminder to the public, this is a board retreat. There will be no executive session this evening. This time, I'm going to ask our board secretary, Mr. Smythe, to please read the sunshine statement and perform roll call.
Thank you. This is the Wall Township Board of Education meeting for which adequate notice under the Open Public Meetings Act was provided by notice to the Co-Star, Asbury Park Press, all Wall Township Public Schools, the Municipal Building, and the Board Administration Office on July 25th, 2024. Take a roll call. Mr. Adenizio? Here. Ms. Barbier? Mr. Buffa?
Here.
Ms. DiGiovanni? Mr. Maliff?
Here.
Mr. Nasser?
Here.
Ms. Shimko? Here. Mr. Wondrak?
Here.
Ms. Stites?
Here, thank you. At this time, we're going to be opening the floor for public comment. In the event that you have public comment, please come to the podium.
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall Township. I've had a couple of old mill parents just ask me to ask what's going on with the asbestos removal, and some were asking why it took so long to find out that there was all that asbestos in there. So I'm not sure how long people knew. I do remember there was mold years ago when it was brought to the attention of Mr. Smythe by a parent by ripping off the radiators. And the father said it was one of the biggest regrets he ever had was not reporting Brian Smythe back then. I did at the last meeting hand you these documents that are forged by Mobilease, signed by a person that didn't even work there. So I haven't heard back, and I did send that in. So if somebody could get back to me on that. I did forward it to Christine Stites and James Maliff and Kathleen DiGiovanni, and I did not hear back. We also didn't get an update. There was a wall patch article that came out, and I can't believe everybody's just sitting there eating. Nobody's even looking at somebody talking. There was a wall patch article that came out that had mentioned that Ralph Adenizio had posted, and nobody has received a response. Nobody has received a response. If it was Mr. Adenizio that actually sent that into the wall patch, it would be really easy to get an IP address in this day and age. So I will be opening contact information from Tracy Handerhan and Christine Stites to see if you have reached out to the Wall Police and the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. It should take a matter of seconds to find out who did it. If it wasn't Mr. Adenizio, you need to let everybody know. If it was somebody else, you probably need to press charges. So people are wondering what's going on. You're not doing it. Wall has just been the laughingstock of the newspapers. And this really didn't help. That went out to thousands and thousands of people. Crum and Foster doesn't like to pay fraud claims, so I will be reaching out to them on the $240,000 they paid for the Central School trailer case. You need to have on an agenda the two lawsuits, the one for the first pedophile in Wall Township and for the Central School trailer case. We have not heard back. We have not seen it on an agenda. I was hoping somebody would be here from the DOE. I do not see anybody here, maybe because you didn't want anybody here for the retreat. Usually I thought there was somebody here from the retreat, or in the past we've had the attorney here, and there is nobody here. So if you could give us an update on the patch article, my emails to you, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Cross.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could answer my questions.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the floor for public comment.
Ms. Stites? Okay.
The floor is closed for public comment. Thank you. Can you please return to your seat? Mr. Adnesio?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, last Thursday, my identity was stolen. Somebody submitted a story to the patch, said it was submitted by me, which I did not do. I don't know that individual. I didn't even know that individual was a teacher until everything transpired. That being said, a police report was filed with the Wall Township Police on Friday, and that's all I have. It's in the police hand, and hopefully they will go after IP addresses and do what's necessary and get anybody involved that should be involved. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Adnesio. I appreciate that. All right. At this time, I'm going to be moving into the President's report. So I would like to update the community as a whole, Wall Township. There will be more to come on this topic at the direction of the board as a whole. As the president of the board, I'm a spokesperson, and when I speak, it's really my job to reflect the committee of 9 that we are. I would, however, like to assure the public that the Board of Education has not been sitting idly as different allegations have been thrown. I have been in touch, not only by mail, but also with telephone conversations with the Comptroller's office regarding allegations of being not transparent or potentially being involved in fraudulent activity or illegal activity and any number of claims. And I was educated by the folks from the Comptroller's office that they are a nonpartisan office and that they are obligated to take any kind of concerns, complaints, reports from anyone in the community. In the event that they decide to hold an investigation and there are any positive findings, there would be a report generated that would then be published on the Office of the Comptroller's website. To my knowledge and to the knowledge of the people that I spoke with, or the person that I spoke with, there are no reports on the Office of the Comptroller with any positive findings of any investigations that have been conducted by the Comptroller's office regarding the Wall Township Board of Education or the administration of this school district. Now, regardless of claims that you may hear, the Comptroller's office cannot control how people in the community choose to present or characterize their relationship with the Comptroller's office, but private citizens are not, in fact, deputized by the Comptroller's office. That's my words, not the Comptroller's office. So I think that if anyone in the community is concerned as far as the Comptroller's findings, or in this case, lack of findings, they should please go to the Comptroller's website and look up the Wall Township Board of Education. I do believe that what you'll find are financial audits, which is customary, but in terms of any kind of investigations and positive findings, those do not exist. Next topic, I have contacted, and this Board of Education attorney has contacted the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office on a number of different issues and tried to be cooperative to the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. Very recently, documents were provided to the Board of Education that were forwarded to the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. They were presented here indirectly through a security guard at our meeting. They were turned over to the Prosecutor's Office, and the response says, "Our office does not currently have an open investigation into the trailers. That investigation was closed in 2020, and you have a copy of Barbara Suppa's letter explaining the reasons. If the allegation from the attached documents is a forgery back in 2008, we would be well outside the statute of limitations 5 years for a forgery to bring criminal charges, and I will not be reopening the investigation into the trailers at this time. If the community members who provided these want to reach out to Sergeant Baldwin, we are always willing to discuss with them. So once again, as recently as this week, we have been told by the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office that there is not an investigation into the trailers, that the statute of limitations has, for any of the allegations that have been made, rendered this a closed case. Statutes of limitations have closed. The Board of Education is not a law enforcement agency. We have no ability to interject ourselves into certainly a law enforcement agency and tell them what to do. So I think it's important, again, for the community to recognize that we have, in fact, been in touch with the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. I think that the MCPO and the school district have a very excellent working relationship, and I think the community, I would hope, has confidence in that. And there is more to come, and we will discuss it in September. Regarding comments about asbestos at Old Mill, the Board of Education was immediately forthcoming with reports of asbestos, and we held special meetings at Old Mill School where parents and faculty were invited to attend and community members. If folks were unable to avail themselves to that meeting, I'm sorry, but I actually attended the meeting myself, and we did have our industrial hygienist there. Again, the Board of Education has been very open and forthcoming. In terms of completion of that project, I can let Dr. Handerhan speak to that, but once again, this idea that parents weren't informed is absolutely untrue. And this board has worked very hard to establish a relationship with our community. And I'm not going to allow someone to stand here and claim that members of the Old Mill community weren't informed, because that is absolutely 100% untrue. My next point of business is actually going to be for the board to discuss. It occurred to me, based on some comments that were made at our last meeting, I thought it was very helpful when our board secretary was able to, our custodian of records, detail for the community the number of OPA records that we have received and the number that had been met and in what timely manner they had been met, despite suggestions that they were not met and that they were tardy, et cetera. I think it may be helpful, and I think the board may want to consider potentially making that part of our board meeting or our board report at the meetings, just a quick update for our community so that they can understand the kind of demands that are put on our school district and our administration teams, so they have some idea and a better understanding of what's coming in on OPA requests, what kind of numbers of pages are being generated, and an appreciation for, you know, the time that's being taken away from business of the district. And I would be curious to know if anyone on the board thinks that that potentially would be a valuable addition to the board report moving forward. So I'm going to open the floor for board members at this time, if anyone wants to chime in on that as a possibility.
Madam President,
Mr. Buffa.
I think that my thoughts are kind of simple, and in that I feel like Oprah itself, to some extent here in Wall Township, has been used as somewhat of a weapon against certain entities within the town. And I know it's statewide, but I'm just really concerned about us here. If there was a way that we can do that, I think that would be a good idea. But I also think that the business office and so many staff members are taking so much time already to kind of handle all these requests. If this was something else that added additional time to that, I don't know if it would be worth it. If there's a way to streamline that so that we could present it and not put hours and hours of workload and tracking and everything else on the people that are already doing this, then I would be in favor of it.
Madam President.
Mr. Maliff.
Thank you. Hearing everything that Mr. Buff had to say, I certainly can agree with that. And just the title, the Open Public Records Act, I mean, if it's open Public Records Act, it certainly is something that would be appropriate to be presented at a board meeting. So again, if it can be done in a streamlined fashion, in a way that wouldn't take a lot of time away from the people who do it, I think it would be entirely appropriate to include it in a portion of our meetings going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. DiGiovanni?
I agree. I think that the public should be made aware of the absolute volume that is coming in and the minutia with which citizens are seeking records, things we can't even find, things that aren't even records. I think if the public were made aware of just what this district has to go through, I think they would have a better understanding and can put some of the allegations into context. So I think that would be helpful for the town.
Is the board amenable to my addressing it with the custodian of records at another time so that they can kind of digest it and get some kind of an idea as to, again, we're not looking to burden, just this is how many came in, this is how many have been filled. Mr. Nasser.
So according to this new law that was passed a few months ago, there is the encouragement to post more of the Oprahs in a fashion that they're searchable electronically. Being that a lot of the Oprah requests we do get are repeats, and I know the town has looked at digitizing their Oprah process. I would love to see it explored here in a way that it automates the process so that hopefully it saves time on the back end for Mr. Smythe and anybody else that's involved, especially if it's something that we've already answered. Then it's out there, it's public, it's searchable, and it's accessible by everybody.
Great point. Okay, so that's something that I'm going to explore with our custodian of records, if that's acceptable. Great, super. Mr. Smythe?
And I think with the new legislation, they're pushing to have more documents online, not necessarily the actual Oprah requests. And, in the past, the district, a similar conversation that this board has had with, in an attempt to be more transparent, we listed all the Oprah requests on the district's website, kept track of them, the status of them, and what we found happening kind of just like Facebook and other social media, that became the means to weaponize accusations and, to ask questions in a way that were accusatory to individuals, whether it be board members, employees, either other residents, but they were put forth in the form of an Oprah request, which we then posted on our website for people to read. So I'm all for reviewing the new legislation. They got professional development coming out actually this week on that, as far as making the documents more available to hopefully in an effort to avoid Oprah requests, but not to put the Oprah requests on the district website. And I can discuss in more detail what we would look to report on a monthly basis with regard to Oprah, because we do in fact track them now. So just to report on them, I don't think would be overly difficult.
Great. Is there anyone else with any comment for that? Seeing none, that is going to conclude my president's report. Just one moment.
Ms. Steitzme, I'd like to also add to the conversation regarding
Please.
Old Mill. I would like to share that comprehensive information has been provided to the families and to the district at Old Mill. And for anyone in the public that is not aware of it or does not frequent our website, I invite them to go to the Superintendent's Communications tab on our website. And many straddle into the archive 2023-2025 school year, and you will see very detailed reports, detailed explanations. Additionally, we have been reporting out on, certainly during my superintendent's report, on the fine work that our operations and our teams that we have hired that have done at Old Mill to do an amazing abatement job, and also the opportune lighting project that we were able to utilize the time with the building shut to really reinvigorate the entire lighting in the building, which I am so happy to say makes a beautiful difference. Our operations staff and our summer staff, our teachers packing up the rooms, and all of our staff at Old Mill have just done such an amazing job, and they have been very busy the last 2 weeks preparing their classrooms for the students' returns. I know I'm not alone in sharing my enthusiasm for Old Mill's reopening, and I do know that Principal Antonello has been in touch with the families and to let them give them updates. So I also want to point out that on our facilities tab on our website, and many are hyperlinked in my previous letters, all the lab testing is on our website. The remediation, all the testing afterwards, the air quality, they're all on our website. We actively try to provide as much information to the public as possible. Obviously, any type of asbestos project or similar project is of paramount interest to our parents and to our community members, to our staff. And certainly, I will say this because I spend a lot of time with the high school students. They are very interested in this because we really have a great environmental stewardship in our student body. And I would imagine probably intermediate school, although I haven't had personal conversation. So again, we put a lot on our website that may be of interest to you. If you're a parent of Old Mill, if you're a grandparent of Old Mill, please reach out to our website. We provide a tremendous amount of information. And also the correspondences, we put a lot of time into writing our letters. So try to digest it as much as possible. And every time that there is a primary document to support everything that I'm saying, I hyperlink it in the letter. So I think it's really important that, I'm taking a note from, the humanities department and, the STEM areas. For when you write a paper, you provide documentation and you cite it. And at every opportunity I have, I do that. So I hope that the public will take advantage of that. And again, hats off to our staff because they have just done an amazing job. And I will say our operations department extends beyond Old Mill School because this was WTPS. This was a time to shine for our operations staff because everybody was involved in emptying all the classrooms and building it back up. So we have the most amazing custodial operations staff, maintenance staff around, and I am so proud of their work. So I'll continue to shine a light on them because they deserve it. Thank you, Ms. Stites.
Thank you, Dr. Handerhan. At this time, we're going to open the floor for public comment on agenda action items. Floor is open for public comment.
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall. Now that you went over what you can do with the Oprahs, I mean, what you should do is put what the RE is. So if you didn't have this go on with Rizzatello, then I would not have been putting in Oprah requests, 13 Oprah requests for Rizzatello. So if you're going to do the log, you have to put what the topic is. To just say people put in 23 Oprah requests for the month means nothing to people. And that is not going to show what you're doing. Setting district goals for 2024. God, we never do the goals for the prior year. Like, nothing ever gets done. Communication, it's just terrible. And if you could give me the name of who that was in the prosecutor's office that signed that letter, Ms. Stites, you never gave a name. Do you have a name there you can rattle off so it's on the record tonight? I would appreciate it. You read what they said, but you did not say who wrote it. So this way I don't have to Oprah it, and Mr. Smythe doesn't have to add it up. Just say the name. Glad to hear that Ralph Adenizio went to Wall Police. I would have liked to have heard that Tracy Handerhan also contacted Wall Police.
Mrs. Cross, is that an agenda item?
It should be an agenda
Well,
item.
it is not. Thank you.
You should be trying to find out
Thank you, Mrs.
who
Cross. That is not
put
an
that
agenda
in.
item.
Right.
Do you have
need-
anything on any other agenda items at this time?
It should be an agenda
Do
item.
you have any other issues for agenda items at this time?
I don't have the human resources report. I'm not sure if anybody else has left. Any new people leaving in the district that we're not aware of? School physician, I see. Not sure who that is. Yeah, so if you could give me that name, I'd appreciate it. And the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office isn't going to open up from 20 years ago. That is
Thank
something
you,
that
Mrs.
you should
Cross.
be
That's
looking
not
at.
an agenda item.
Right.
Thank you,
The-
Mrs. Cross.
I sent it to
Thank
you because you need to look at it.
Thank you, Mrs.
That we need to
Cross.
know
Thank
who the
you, Mrs.
trailers came
Cross.
from
That's
before
not
you're
an
sued
agenda
again.
item. Thank
Right.
you. Thank you,
It
Mrs.
should be an
Cross.
agenda item. And
It
get
is
the
not.
money back.
It
Get
is
the
not.
money back
Thank you.
from Anthony
Thank
Scarillo
you,
for that
Mrs. Cross.
bogus report
Thank you.
with forged
Thank you, Mrs.
documents
Cross.
in it.
If you have anything on an agenda item, please share it with us.
If Tracy Handerhan could just let us know, did she reach out to Wall PD on the
Thank
Ralph
you, Mrs.
Adenizio?
Cross. It does not sound like you have anything else for an agenda item. If that's the case, then that concludes your public comment.
All right, if you could answer me,
Thank
answer
you.
my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Prior to moving on to the superintendent's report, I would just like to highlight the statement that we don't revisit our goals. That actually was the entire presentation of our meeting here last week. The entire meeting was a summation of our goals, how they were met last week or last year, and that entire presentation, along with all of the supporting documents, was uploaded to the website. I encourage our community members to please do your research. Do not take what you hear at the podium at face value. That was the entire topic of our special presentation at last week's meeting. I find it incredibly ironic. Moving on, at this time, Dr. Handerhan, will you please proceed to your superintendent report?
Thank you so much, Ms. Stites, and I want to thank you for reiterating the fact that we had a very arguably impressive presentation by our assistant superintendents last week, detailing all of the hard work of the Wall Township Public School employees in every capacity across the district. So I thank you for reiterating that, because our employees are working so incredibly hard for the children of this district. And I will tell you that if you haven't had a chance to view probably it's about 21, 22-page document of the accomplishments that took place across the district to support the multi-year objectives and goals, I invite you to do so, because I think it's very detailed, and it shows just how hard everyone is working in this district to provide the best education for their children, their grandchildren, and their family members. And for those that do not have students in the district, we are very cognizant of including them in this community as well. And we want to do right by them as well. So, and that includes being fiscally responsible and utilizing our resources as responsibly as we humanly can. So, with that, I want to thank you for shining a light on that. As we mentioned last week, during our 23-24 district goal summation of accomplishments, we set the stage for the working meeting. It's a workshop meeting at this point for refining our 2024-2025 district goals. Our district goals and objectives are strategic, multi-year objectives. Each year, we are changing and hitting different specific activities to support the goal. So they're multi-year goals, multi-year activities. They're broken down into 5 different categories. And this summer, as we were wrapping up the completions of last year's goals during our administrative retreats, we worked with our district administrators, and we refined specific activities that we were going to build upon from last year, and so that we can carry all of really carry the ball further down the end zone. And I hope I got, not the end zone, further down the line. So I'm trying with my athletic references. Sorry. So I'll get these athletic rules right yet. I was in track. And I play tennis, so there we go. But anyway, what we want to do is we want to build upon what we did last year, and so we can zoom into the future. So tonight, as I mentioned, we are now working as a central office administrative team and a Board of Education in refining the outputs of our administrative retreats, where we identified some projects to work on for the next year. Now, what will happen is we will go back, central office will go back and refine the feedback from this evening, and we will craft a document that we will review in committees once again, and we are poised to approve our 2024-2025 district goals and objectives at our September 17th meeting. So that is the charge, and in the spirit of being respectful of everyone's time. Oh, yeah.
Excuse me,
I'm so
Dr.
excited
Hannon.
about the district goals.
I know
Ms.
you are.
Stites.
I know you are.
So I'm setting the table.
Thank you. Prior to doing that,
We need
I
to
would
take
like
action, don't
I would
we?
like to take action, please. I would like to take action
think
on
you're
the
doing a great
agenda
job.
items, so please
My
forgive the
zeal.
interruption.
My zeal, Ms.
At
Stites.
this time, may I please have a motion from a board member to approve the agenda items? Mr. Wondrak, Mr. Nasser, Mr. Smythe, would you please take roll call?
Yes, and just confirm, this is under the superintendent's report, under items number 5, all action items. Right?
Yes, thank you.
Take a roll call, Mr. Addisio?
Yes.
Ms. Barbier?
Yes.
Mr. Buffer?
Yes.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Mallett?
Yes.
Mr. Nasser?
Yes.
Ms. Shimko?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Stites?
Yes, thank you. All right, now's your time to shine.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Stites. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I would have been very bit disappointed if we didn't, take care of the business on the agenda item, so I appreciate it. Okay, so clearly I'm very enthusiastic about 2024, 2025. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Jennifer McCann, as she presents the drafted activities that were made in concert with the administrative team this summer in the area of curriculum instruction. So goal 1, Ms. McCann?
Thank you, Dr. Hanrahan. So our first goal has been the same as Dr. Hanrahan mentioned from last year to this year, for us to foster a culture of academic excellence, innovation, and equity where students are provided with personalized learning experiences, rigorous curriculum, and supportive resources to achieve their full potential. Our first strategy or objective in order to do that is to enhance the district's instructional programs to improve student outcomes. So in order for us to achieve that, we are proposing within our elementary grade spans that we are going to continue with our reading initiative, specifically in grades 3, 4, and 5 with the magnetic reading program, and transitioning our upper elementary teachers in utilizing strategies that are aligned to the science of reading, while also continuing to support and implementing the program in K-2. We are also going to be looking at new math materials for grades 4 and 5. We have pretty much every teacher that teaches 4th and 5th grade math across the district will be piloting different programs for us to be able to evaluate which one best fits the needs of our students, our teachers, and our community. One of those programs is Envision Math, which is the program we currently use, but an updated copyright. Reveal Math, and then Ready Math are the 3 programs. In addition to that, we'll be working with our teachers within our WIN period, which is what I need period, which is attached to our ELA classes. And that is where our teachers will really be honing in on individualized needs for our students, enriching those who need enrichment, working with the students who need just a little bit of extra support, and also starting to provide those Tier 1 interventions for the students who need additional academic support without receiving services from our basic skills program. At the intermediate levels, we'll be looking at different master schedules, different models across the state in terms of maybe making a change at the master schedule here at intermediate school, as well as looking at different elective options to try to build more opportunities for our students instead of them being locked into certain things in different grade levels, as well as starting to look at the grading policy, as well as our academic achievement policy, and how we recognize those students and what those recognitions are going to be. In addition to that, looking at our ESL program, right now, all of our students who come with all different levels within our MLs are all in one class. So we're looking to branch that out for a beginner class, an intermediate class, and an advanced class, so that we can really hone in on the individual needs of the students. And our math teachers at intermediate school will also be participating in the math pilot, but they selected one program, HMH, that they really wanted to hone in on and decide whether that was the program that they wanted to move forward with or not. At the high school, in terms of our instructional programs, we'll be doing a similar aspect with our ML students. We'll be assessing the new schedule, which is the rotating drop, making sure that we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed, and getting feedback from both the students and the faculty in terms of its implementation. We'll be conducting a school counseling audit in the counseling office to get some feedback in terms of our college readiness procedures, as well as other aspects of that office. We'll be looking, similar to the intermediate school, at how we are doing our high school grading, how we do our transcripts, how that is weighted and the impact it has on the college application process and class rank. We would love to continue to enhance our NNDCC program in offering more opportunities for those students. We'll be having a marksmanship team this year, as well as other drill teams, which has drawn our enrollment numbers to go up, which is fantastic. And we'll also be looking to include more courses for dual enrollment with Stockton, our partnership with them. We were able to have 19 courses offered for this year, and we have a list of additional courses that we'll be submitting for approval for next school year. One other program we're looking to implement at the high school is we'll be doing research on implementing a CTE program for our students as well, and expanding some of our options at the high school. So that's the first objective. Our second objective is do you want me to stop and answer questions for that first? Okay.
That was a lot. So let you guys, there's a lot, I'm proud of this. So.
Any questions on that first objective? Ms. Stites.
Thank you. CTE?
Career Technical Education.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And no, don't be sorry. And I appreciate all the different things that, my gosh, you guys really are not holding back, are you? Pedal to the metal. I do know that it makes people a little bit nervous when they hear, reevaluating student achievement, scheduling, specifically at the intermediate school. Just for clarification, you're not necessarily looking to make any changes to the schedule for this upcoming school year.
No.
Could you just,
Sure, of
let's
course.
reiterate when that would be happening?
24, 25, which
Thank
is
you.
starting in a number of days. That schedule will remain the same, and it could remain the same moving forward in terms of our number of periods, the number of minutes in each period, and just the way the rotations that happen as well. We're exploring different options that we have across the state, talking to different districts in terms of what might be able to best suit our students to be able to offer them different electives and different options. But again, that all comes down to how does that possibly impact personnel and budget and so forth. So there's a lot that goes into it, but we're just opening those conversations to see if there's other options versus what we're currently doing for the possibly 25-26 school year.
And I would like to just suggest that if parents are interested in, as these conversations happen throughout the year, our principals at our different schools will have parent advisory groups.
Of course.
And there's certainly, if you are looking to be part of that conversation or updated, not only will you hear about it here at board meetings, but the schools are very open, and there are some pretty active groups and times for interaction. So if parents are looking to hear about this, this is not all being done behind closed doors. There's more than enough opportunity. So please mention at one of these meetings, your thoughts, or get involved in the conversation, because, this is a community, and that's how we're also trying to make some decisions. Does anyone have anyone else for Ms. McCann before please?
When you were considering the courses to dual enroll with Stockton, I think you also have some currently with Brookdale.
Yes.
Did you look at the transferability rate or transferability option of those credits to universities as a whole? Because if you're going to take the course, you want to obviously be able to use the credits going forward. So what did you look at in deciding what courses to offer?
Great question. So Ms. Misa, the Director of School Counseling, Mr. Davis, and Ms. Kerman really, to answer your question, yes, did look at that. Every university is different in terms of what courses they do accept. The majority of the classes that we did wind up partnering with and having accepted by Stockton this school year, most of them were transferable, but again, it depended on the specific university. So what our guidance has been to parents is that if they do have universities that they know that they're interested in, many of them on their websites have a list of the courses that they do take from other universities, and making sure that it was worth them paying the dual enrollment fee to have that course and be transferred to where they could possibly be interested in going. Mr. Maliff.
I was going to ask a question similar to what Mrs. Seitz asked for about the intermediate school schedule. I'm just wondering, I have a couple of points, but I was wondering about, is there a reason that you believe that there are currently issues with the current intermediate school schedule that need to be looked at? And what might they be?
So in hearing feedback in terms of some of the scheduling constraints with the way that we're currently doing it, and also looking at, my main drive was the way in which our elective courses are offered, in terms of there are certain courses in 6th and 7th and 8th that the students have to take, and in some cases don't have an option to take multiple electives given the number of core content courses that they have to take. So is there a way to maybe offer semesters or offer classes that are one per marking period or something around those lines to have them have more opportunities in their hands in different courses?
Okay, thank you. And I also want to comment, I'm very much excited about the high school schedule and what we're doing there with the drop. I think that's a great idea, and I think that's going to be a great benefit to our students. One other question about the high school. There's a bullet here that says, begin to create common assessments, common rubrics to develop protocols for data discussion. To what extent do you really expect the teachers to be given common assessments? Do they still have freedom to create their own tests for content?
In terms of majority of the time within their unit assessments, there are similar common assessments, but there are times where right now there are some lingering courses that don't necessarily have that. And our drive in this particular situation is within strengthening our data analysis and our assessments within the district. We're utilizing a program for next school year called Link It at the high school that is a standards-based assessment program, meaning there are a number of our assessments that have questions on them that don't necessarily always relate to a particular standard that we're required to teach. So ensuring that the assessment questions that we're utilizing are assessing what our state expectations are in terms of the standards, let's just say, for geometry. So ensuring that, one, they're aligned, and two, that we're all utilizing the same, so that when we do a data analysis, it's apples to apples and not apples to oranges. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Do you want me to continue to the other sections?
I'd love it.
All right.
Hit it.
I'll be brief because I know we have other people. So in terms of providing ongoing support to implementing best practices, again, within elementary, really honing in on the science of reading and making sure at the elementary levels we're providing that strategic, explicit foundation in terms of phonics in K-2, and in 3, 4, and 5, honing in on vocabulary and comprehension. And also ensuring that we continue to utilize the best practices that are in our evaluation model or tool, instructional model, through Marzano's focused teacher evaluation model. In terms of touching upon strengthening the district's data analysis practices, using Linkit across the district at the elementary levels, it'll be used primarily as a data warehouse where they'll be able to log in and see all of the universal assessments that we administer in the district. So at the elementary level, all of the students' iReady scores, all of their DIBEL scores, their math benchmark scores, as well as, I'll touch on Ms. Bond, our Sunday scores will be in there. So our teachers will really be able to get a holistic view of how the students are performing across all areas. NJSLA will be put in there as well for those tested grades. And they'll be able to create what they're going to call a fingertip report, which will give a profile on every student for the teachers so they can see specifically where the students may need some assistance. At the intermediate level, we're going to dabble in our high school level courses only. So it would be Algebra 1 and Geometry at intermediate level, where they will be starting to use it for not only a data warehouse, but also as an assessment platform. So they'll be taking assessments or utilizing the platform for making tests and administering the tests. And then at high school, it will be for tests and data warehouse. Having all of that data allows not only us from the district to do our work in making sure that our curriculum aligns with what we need for state monitoring and state assessments, but also allows the principals and the teachers to hone in on specific needs within their building, within their grade levels, and within their classrooms. That's all I got.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions, comments from board members? Thank you, Ms. McCann. You've
Thank you,
really been
everyone.
working incredibly hard.
I have a
Oh,
comment.
Mr. Wondrek, so sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Wondrek.
Those of us who were around pre-pandemic and pandemic, and there was nothing, no help from anyone. You couldn't find anything from the state, you couldn't find any, and the teachers, the superintendent, we had an interim superintendent, we had an interim assistant superintendent, we had all kinds of, and staff changes for the better. Every staff change was for the better. And when this whole thing came together, and here we are now, we just take it for granted. But I have to tell you, there's a lot of people that kill themselves trying to get this thing to where it is now. And not only is it just okay, I think we have some pretty good grades. We have some pretty good markers out there of the direction of what the school is going. So I just think there has to be a congratulations to, without even the teachers that would come in on their own time and try and put some of this stuff together. I mean, my God. And it took you a while, it took me a while, you had to keep up with it and try and understand because we were doing new things besides just putting a program together. So I think it's a credit to the superintendent and the staff. They did an excellent job. Thank you.
Hear, hear. Thank you very much. Dr. Handrian?
Are we ready for goal 2? Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce the Director of Intervention Services and Student Wellness, Ms. Tiffany Steiner, to illuminate our hopes and plans for the 24-25 goal 2.
Thank you, Dr. Handerhan. Thank you to our members of the Board of Education. Cultivating the wellness of the community through intentional programming and supports focused on the whole child, the physical, social, emotional, behavioral, and technological development of our students, staff, and parents and guardians is our wellness district goal for the 2024-25 school year. Under the umbrella of wellness are 3 specific areas that I'll speak about this evening. A comprehensive program for all students K-12, which is our research-based program, 7 Mindsets. A response system for crisis called Postvention that infuses research-based practices and safely manages situations. And finally, a comprehensive and coordinated system of services to meet individual needs, which is also often what we refer to as our tiered system of supports and meeting children where they're at, providing the services that they need. So the connection between these areas is that we're hoping to lay a strong foundation through developing skills necessary within our 7 Mindsets program. And then as individual needs surface, we want to respond to them using the expertise of our staff, data, best practices to develop targeted intervention plans, while securing and making sure that our environments are safe and healthy. So the system that we most frequently use to do so in general education arena is really our school's intervention and referral services team. So that is the comprehensive system, which includes a variety of staff members and is coordinated as it has some standard operating procedures that we ensure all buildings subscribe to. So if we begin with our first objective, which is about our 7 Mindsets program, we're in year 2 of implementation of the 7 Mindsets curriculum. Implementation consists of 3 areas. There's a professional development piece to grow staff competencies. There's a student instruction in each mindset, and then there's also our community engagement to kind of outreach to our community. Our professional development this year will consist of presenting each mindset at monthly building faculty meetings to build a good culture and connection between faculty members. We're also going to highlight an activity for staff to experience the power of the mindset, so we are trying to build those competencies through doing. And then we'll also use the expertise of our school counselors, our district select leaders, and administration to take a deeper dive into the mindsets with departmental training, including our media specialists, our technology teachers, our physical education teachers, and our intermediate social studies teachers. At the high school level, over the summer, our 9th grade counselor and school family liaison counselor wrote a 9th grade transitional curriculum which will lead the conversations about the 7 mindsets at Wall High School. The curriculum brings the mindsets to life through large group experiences and extension activities to build a sense of community and belonging for our freshmen. Instruction on each of the mindsets, the student instructional piece, will be extended for 4 lessons per mindset, and the lessons will be delivered in various curricular areas. For example, through K-8, all PE classes will be doing one of the mindset lessons, one of the elements per mindset. We also have the media classes. We have our social studies, grades 6 to 8, our social studies teachers will begin instruction on the mindsets. And in grades 3 through 8, we're going to be very innovative, and we will be doing wellness webinars. And so this will be a counselor-delivered instruction by grade level via a webinar to be able to facilitate discussions across various classrooms. So the goal is to really reinforce technology, use technology responsibly, get kids familiar with the skill that they're going to find way into the future as far as webinars are concerned and participation on this platform, and to also have a discussion and a lesson be presented in a small group, but then have the discussion and the sharing extended across to grade level. So as we deepen our students' knowledge, we're also, with this, going to be infusing leadership opportunities for our students in grades 3 to 5 through Mindset Mentors. These will be student leaders. They'll be selected and trained, and they will help facilitate the wellness webinars and kind of serve as a class representative in leading those discussions. Finally, in regards to the 7 mindsets, we're continuing to engage the community through, of course, our Board of Ed monthly mindset showcases with Ms. Gilvari. We're going to highlight the application of the mindsets. We'll continue with our Wellness in the Works newsletters, and we also will continue to offer our parent workshops. We will be partnering with the WTEA and Special Services to offer family nights, which we've done in the past. Our first family night is September 5th from 5:30 to 7 at West Belmar. The presentation will be from Integrated Care Concepts. They will be highlighting the power of showing up and instilling in parents the importance of attendance and developing a sense of belonging to the school community. We'll also, at that evening, have some kiosks set up so that we'll offer assistance to parents in filling out the Genesis parent portal forms, lunch applications, and such. That is our first objective. Is there any questions about 7 mindsets?
Mrs. Steiner, for the September 5th meeting at West Belmar, that is open to all
Everyone.
families?
All families.
Not just West Belmar families?
Not just West Belmar families.
Thank you.
So
And help with Genesis. I know some of my tribe are out there. They need some help.
Yeah.
September 5th, West Belmar, place to be.
And our
dinner.
new director and our new director of technology will be assisting that evening as well, so. Any other questions? Okay, our second objective has to do with postvention response, and that's always framed around research-based practices and our Lifelines Trilogy program. Our avenues for implementation include a school and district-based crisis management team, and then also the state-mandated threat assessment teams. The basis of our actions are carefully developed, and they've been formalized in a traumatic loss manual that was authored 2 years ago. As we approach year 2 of putting our response teams and our plans into action, we're going to continue to test safety through scenario training. We also have a great focus this year on the individuals who encounter hardships and what we're doing for individuals post-crisis. We absolutely want to ensure that we have a tight hold on those individuals who have been effective, so we will focus on channeling postvention's needs through services in the last support that I spoke about, that I'll be elaborating on shortly, which is our coordinated system. Another interesting highlight in this area is we'll be partnering with MHA, and we'll be offering some training and workshops for our PTO and for our community leaders so that we can begin the discussion of how do we heal as a community and what's appropriate for the responsibilities of the school as opposed to other community avenues. So, is there any questions in that area? Okay. And our final component of the wellness plan speaks to the coordinated system of staff and programs that we use to meet individual needs. As I mentioned, we typically use our INRS committee of professionals, which includes teacher leaders, counselors, interventionists, special services members, and school nurses to engage in planning sessions for individual students. It broadens the lens in which we look at how can we help students. They review data, they observe the students in classes, communicate with families, with the intention of best understanding what a student needs, and then further identifying the programs that would best meet those needs and the counseling services. As we do this, we create this in a formal action plan, and our goal is always to restore areas where skills or gaps may be present, so that we have learning opportunities through small groups and individual services that we deliver to students for support. A new program that we'll be introducing to our counseling and support staff is what's called the BASE program. BASE is a portal of teaching tools that's aligned to 7 mindsets that offers many lessons to facilitate instruction on topics related to mental health and wellness. So you can use this in 2 fashions. You can use this as a counseling tool. We can also use this as a restorative tool. So if there's disciplinary infractions, there are portals that we can go to. There's elements in this portal that will help support and builds upon competencies so misbehavior doesn't continue. With the implementation of individualized data-driven plans and the application of these evidence programs like BASE, we're hoping that our students will be successful and that, of course, we'll continue to adjust goals as appropriate and celebrate successes. So we have an exciting year ahead of us. Is there any questions about any parts of the wellness?
Mrs. Steiner, thank you very much. The board has really appreciated the tremendous strides that the district has taken in the area of wellness. Again, I think our community has had the opportunity through the different events that you've hosted throughout the community nights and family nights, also our monthly presentations. The board is looking forward to continuing those presentations and partnering with you, Ms. Galvari. Again, to echo what Mr. Wondrak said, we have made tremendous, tremendous strides in this area, and it's very important because not only are we educating students, we're ultimately developing future community members for all of us. Students are graduating and becoming policymakers, community representatives, they're our neighbors, and I appreciate everything you've done. I've also appreciated how your department has helped the district in times of tremendous crisis and trauma, and I hope that the community recognizes that your department is there with appropriate responses that are research-based and best ways to respond. Sometimes out of goodness of our heart, we may think saying or doing one thing is appropriate, but sometimes we can kind of compound. So I appreciate the education that you've given the board and our community, and I look forward to seeing the continued development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steiner. At this point, I would like to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Special Services, Ms. Kelly Bond, to really shed some light on the proposed activities for Goal 3.
Hi, everybody. Goal 3 is to strengthen engagement and expand opportunities that foster a sense of belonging and purpose through inclusive experiences that promote positive peer and community relationships. So the 2 strategies within this goal, almost every activity engages both students and their families. So I'm going to lump these together and really talk about each activity and how it's going to support families and the students of Wall Township. So there's many things that are district-wide. There are some things that were specific to special services that have kind of branched out. So starting with the implementation of the RISE program, which we started talking about back in December, I think, of last year when we were planning for budget. And this program really came from looking at the needs of our students and identifying that there were some students in district who were exhibiting some school avoidance and some school phobia, and we wanted to create a very nurturing, helpful, and caring environment where those students can feel safe and happy to come to school and receive their high school diploma. So that program will be starting in September, which I'm very, very thankful for. That program certainly will support the students within it, but there are also going to be portions of that program that will outreach and support the families as well. We're partnering with Rutgers University Behavioral Health Care, where we will have a full-time clinician at the high school who will work with the students by providing individual and group therapy, but it will also outreach to the families where there will be family counseling and an opportunity for the clinician to potentially go into the home and support these families. which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to try to support students who are having this significant need. In addition to that, we will have a psychiatrist, which will be with us one day a month. That will support, again, the students in district who are in need of that level of care, can provide them some medication management if the family is struggling with insurance or something of that nature and can't get access to those types of, can't get access to that, and their child really is in desperate need. So we're really excited for that. Again, in talking about the family component of this and family engagement and the inclusivity factor, we like to keep, when we have situations that are sensitive, we prefer to do things in-house as often as we possibly can. We feel that the interaction between staff members and families, when a family may be in crisis or having high emotions, we like to control that as much as we possibly can, as opposed to having to send a child and a family member to an outside physician or an emergency room if we were really in. So we're hoping to bring that all back and have families feel really supported as well. This clinician will not only help students at the high school in the RISE program, but we're looking to identify students at our elementary level who may be experiencing and exhibiting some signs of school anxiety, so we can start working with those students and their families before they need the RISE program. We will be continuing our ERI class at WIS. That program was started last year and will continue into this year. We are very thankful for the opportunity it allowed for us to keep many of our Wall Township students in district and also to support students in surrounding towns. We will be expanding our reading intervention for special education students who have those types of goals and objectives in their IEP. We started it this past year and the year prior. Each year we've been expanding by grade levels. We utilize the WIN period that Ms. McCann was referring to earlier for many of our students who are educated in the general education environment. We are finding success with allowing students to be included in their general education environment while still receiving this type of intervention, as opposed to having to pull them from their class to receive it. So we're looking to push things back in so that the children can remain with their peers, and we are finding great success with that. We will also be looking to continue to expand our unified sports program, which certainly creates a strong sense of belonging and inclusivity in the district. We moved it from the high school down to WIS. We are looking to expand that even further by adding more sports, and we keep trying to find anyone else who has applied for the grant so we can almost create our own mini conference if we can get there. So we're working on that. We will also continue to increase our involvement with parents by the Special Services Department intends to send out a needs assessment or a questionnaire to try to discover how families feel about inclusivity. Do they feel we're doing a great job in certain areas? Do they feel we need to do better in other areas? And also just what's your belief on inclusivity? Are we speaking the same language? So we intend on doing that so that we can use that information to create future goals. And Ms. Steiner already discussed the combination of our departments and the FAST grants. We also intend on using Rutgers Behavioral Health. They can provide us almost unlimited PD, and we can use their clinicians. So something I heard from our CPAG group last year, which is our Special Education Parent Advisory Group, was that executive functioning skills was something that they want more information on how to help their children with this endeavor. So this is not just a special education issue, this is all students, which is why we decided to combine departments as opposed to having it simply be a special education presentation. So we will have, after our September that Ms. Steiner just explained, our January presentation will be about executive functioning skills. And also, the district is working to work on our extracurriculars, and certainly that is a way that students feel a sense of belonging and inclusivity in their buildings. So they intend on creating a secondary extracurricular committee, which will be inclusive of students, teachers, administrators, community members. We'll be looking at, again, what are we doing well? Where do we need to expand? So that will be happening in the future. We will also be looking and analyzing information we've received from committees that have already occurred. We have some recommendations concerning students' daily experiences in school, food services, curricular collaborations, school culture. So we'll be looking at all of the information we receive from these committees to then analyze that and make future goals, which you'll hear about at this time next year, probably. So we will just continue with our community outreach, eliciting stakeholder feedback, and really reflecting upon everything that's happening in the district schools to make ourselves as inclusive of an environment as we can. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, certainly, I fully support every effort to provide for students who are in need of special services in our district. I think that's a great thing, and I know that RISE program is going to really do that. I'm just asking, as far as the tuition-in students, I assume that you will be the gatekeeper to make sure that the students that are coming here will not present a burden to the district or to the students that they will be contacting within our schools. We'd like to have tuition-in students, but we have to ensure that they're going to work out here.
Absolutely, and we have quite a strategic and lengthy process when we're looking to accept a tuition-in student. It starts with myself and a fellow director of another district, but our child study team goes and observes the child where they are currently. We meet with their families. We bring the child to our own district to have them participate in the class for a period of time where we can assess, is this a student who not only would work well within the parameters of the program that they're going to participate in and with the students that are in that program, but can we benefit this child? So we're looking at it really from all angles. And sometimes, and I believe Dr. Hanrahan spoke about this when I was doing my budget presentation in the past, sometimes we want to start a program because we have a cohort of students who need it, but it's so small of a cohort of students that it's not always beneficial for 2 or 3 students to be in a classroom all day together. So it's often beneficial to us as well, not simply financially, but because it makes the program more robust and more, the students can have access to different types of students to learn from. And just one more thing with that, sorry. And in addition to that, that is something that's reviewed annually. Because we accept a tuition-in student does not mean that they will remain with us through graduation. We consistently at each IEP meeting look at that and determine, is this program still appropriate, just as we would for any of our own students in district.
How do you see the intervention at home?
Do you mean academic intervention? Well, I think we're doing a really nice job in collaborating with curriculum and special services. I think that all of the changes that we're making in our curriculum in the general education classroom help parents to understand, and all the outreach we're doing to help parents understand what are children learning and how can you help them. So I think the more specific we get with our standards and Linkit scores and linking to specific things that we want parents to work on can only benefit us. It's a lot about educating our parents on what we're doing. And I think that's great about all these discussions that we have, because if, any parent who's listening, we're all here to answer any questions you have. We're happy to talk about any of those topics. Ms. Bond, again, our special education students are our community members. Their families are our community members. I'm thrilled to see the advances that we're making in our special education initiatives. This RISE program is going to be amazing. I think the ERI program has been fantastic. The addition of mental health providers partnering in adds and adds and adds to the experience. Thank you to our parents who took up the Special Education Parent Advisory Group. I think that's added a tremendous piece to the conversation. And I really appreciate the fact that our general education students are part of so many of these different initiatives, because this, again, is a community. And I do think that Wall in this area also shines. And you're not resting on your laurels. It's continuing to grow, and it's really exciting and very appreciated. And the entire community should be very proud of everything that's happening in this area specifically our school district. So thank you for everything that you and your team are accomplishing.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bond. Moving on with tonight's workshop, it's my pleasure to introduce our Business Administrator, Board Secretary, Mr. Brian Smythe, to illuminate the activities plan to support Goal 4. Mr. Smythe?
Thank you, Dr. Hanrahan. Yes, Goal 4, which is practice fiscal responsibility while maintaining facilities for student learning in the 21st century. And that fiscal responsibility includes clear and accurate reporting to the stakeholders. We have 3 strategies under this goal. The first strategy is perform supervision of the design, bidding, and construction of referendum 2022 projects, and provide regular updates on finances and progress in collaboration with the communication staff. So this referendum, which was approved in December of 2022, we're going to have construction projects that started and were completed in summer of 23. We have ongoing work in the summer of 2024, and the projects will optimistically complete in the summer of 2025. Hopefully, we will not be having this discussion in the summer of 2026, but it is still open. So the activities that we plan for the 24-25 school year, which are going to be similar to what we were doing in 23-24 with regard to the status of the projects, because we have projects that have been completed, projects that are in construction, and projects that are under design, getting ready to go out to bid for construction in the future. So we report at Board of Education meetings on a monthly basis. We have the report from Mr. Nasser as the F&F chair. Based on the reports provided at that month's committee meetings. We have the reports from our superintendent, Dr. Handerhan, who likes to regularly visit our construction sites and report on the activities. And I will say she is very knowledgeable in the areas of construction and renovation, so it's an asset for the school district.
It's better than sports, Mr. Smythe.
Okay. That was dangerous. So, with regard to additional information reported at our monthly board meetings, all formal action with respect to the referendum, that would be awarding of contracts based on bids, or perhaps the rejection of contracts or the rejection of the bids received, as well as any change orders that would change the dollar amount of any contracts that were previously awarded, are all done by formal board action and are listed on the agenda. We also include all payments that are made with referendum funds as a separate fund and as a separate bills and claims report on the monthly bills list. So we have our current expense bills list, and then we list all expenses for Fund 30 or the referendum funds on a separate list so that they can be separately tracked. For reporting on the website, we have our financial summary, which is updated monthly based on the activities for those months, any contracts that were awarded, and any payments that were made. The most up-to-date one is for the month of August, based on any payments or changes that were awarded at the August board meeting. And that we provide the bond referendum financial summary, which lists what the original budget was for each one of the projects, any adjustments to the budget that I've made, because we do have the ability to transfer funds from one project to another. Also, we have the ability to transfer funds from the design or contingency side of the budget to the actual construction side of the budget. But we have it all listed, so we have the original budget, any adjustments, we have what is the current budget. We have all projects or all contracts that have been awarded listed separately, and what the amount of payments we've made against those contracts, and also what is outstanding on each one of those contracts or awards. And then finally, we have the available balance for each project and the available balance for the overall referendum, which as of August, the available balance is just under $40 million. So we've approved contracts just under $27 million. We've paid just under $8 million. And we have outstanding $19 million worth of contracts. So if there's any suggestions that that the board wants to make with regard to how that is reported on the website, I'd be open to have that discussion, and if we can make improvements, we will. Additionally, on the website, we have a narrative of the projects that are completed, the projects that are ongoing, under construction, and those that are planned or upcoming in the future, which, again, as mentioned, are in the design and bid phase, with that work being done next summer, as well as a whole host of photos for each school or each job site that you can see the before pictures as well as the project photos to date. And then by the end, we'll narrow it down to hopefully just the before and after, which will be pretty impressive. Also, with regard to this strategy, we are managing the funds, and we have been investing the idle funds for the duration of the project. So, and if you recall, after the referendum was approved, we had a bond sale. The bonds, we had a closing date that was publicly bid. The results are on the referendum page. The bid results, and on a $66 million bond referendum, the award was based on a difference of $998 because the bids were basically the same except for a premium that was applied by one of the bidders, which I thought was pretty interesting and extremely competitive. But those funds are being maintained by M&T Bank. They're a custodial bank. The bank that we use for regular business, which is Provident, is not a custodial bank and is not permitted to handle security investments, which the idea is through the duration of this project to ensure the best return on our referendum funds that are sitting idle, that they will be invested. The interest rate has been such that they've been able to be maintained in M&T, and we're earning a little over 5% interest on those funds. I will point out, and we will continue to keep the funds in M&T. We have set up a construction account in Provident Bank, so all payments that are made to any vendor related to the referendum is funneled through Provident Bank through a specific account that was set up for the referendum, which is identified as the construction account. So all payments will wash through the Provident construction account. And again, that's just for more accurate reporting and makes it easier for the auditor at year end. With the possible movement in the federal rate, we anticipate that funds will be going out to bid in order to lock in some current interest rates for the next possibly 6 to 9 months, depending on the paydown schedule provided by the architect. But that will be continued to be managed by not only M&T, but we utilize Phoenix Advisors as our financial consultant to help manage those funds. And on a monthly basis, every payment that we make, we do a transfer from M&T to Provident Bank. So we will continue to report on that with the financial summary, and we will continue to manage the funds through M&T Bank. Additionally, as we've been doing all year, we're supervising the construction, and I won't go through all the projects because we have a lot. But I will mention, the projects that were completed last year was the Allenwood site work, which we're still finishing up. They have punch list items on that. We did the shingle roofing project at the high school, which is 100% complete. For this summer, we awarded interior alterations, which includes bathrooms at all of the schools with the exception of the intermediate school. We're completing 3 of the toilet room renovations at 3 schools this summer, and we have 3, which again, that contract is awarded, but the work will be continued, and the work at Central, Allenwood, and Old Mill will be performed next summer. We also have HVAC upgrades at 3 schools that is awarded. Again, we have such long lead times for some construction equipment, such as electrical switch gears for new services that are going in, that we had to award the projects before this summer, just so that we had enough lead time in order to get the material so that they can perform the construction next summer, in summer of 2025. So they were bid and awarded, and there will be some coordination between now and next summer in ensuring that the materials are secured. We're probably going to be paying for stored materials, but that will continue to be managed. We're also doing the roof recoating at all of the district schools this summer, and that project is slated to be completed by next week. And then upcoming, we have the HVAC projects at Central, the intermediate school, and, actually, I just lost the school. Intermediate school, sorry. I will mention, talking about the Office of State Comptroller, we just received approval to advertise that project because of the value of the project will be over $12.5 million. We had to obtain pre-advertisement approval from the Office of the State Comptroller, and then, which we have recently secured, and now we are advertising. We're going to be taking bids at the end of September or early October for the HVAC. We're taking bids for the the interior alterations at the high school and intermediate school this fall as well. So we will, I'm sorry, not to get into too much detail, but we're going to continue to report on the projects on a regular basis with regard to those projects. Strategy number 2, analyze and ascertain facility needs in relation to enrollment and instructional needs. This basically relates to affordable housing in the district and what our facilities as they are can accommodate. It's basically how we're going to accommodate the number of students projected over the next 5 years. The last demographic study that was performed was in August of 2021. One of our first steps in that regard is updating that study. In conjunction, we are analyzing our current enrollments based on the projections that were provided in 2021. That's something that's going to be discussed in the month of September at our Finance Facilities Committee meeting. We do need to update that. We secured a proposal for that service, which will be going through the F&F Committee for approval as well. So we're going to be essentially meeting with the municipality to ascertain, the developments. The demographers will be doing the same, reviewing housing starts, et cetera. We're going to be reviewing our school configurations, our grades, in discussion with central administration, the building principals, on how best to utilize our buildings based on those projected enrollments. That's going to impact our student transportation, obviously, if we're going to look to do grade change configurations. So there'll be transportation studies that are involved. That ties in with the demographics study. Obviously, there's going to be review of facility improvement or renovations, not necessarily additions, but just renovations that may need to be made to our existing facilities based on those projections and the utilization of our facilities. And then obviously a timeline based on the projections and our cost estimates. I mean, I know, the first step I guess to summarize that would be an analysis to consider redistricting in order to accommodate projected enrollments. But the first step is to see, what our actual enrollments have been since the last projection, and then update them accordingly. And lastly, the third strategy was to look to provide adequate facilities, adequate and collaborative facilities for the district support services, which include central administration, operations, and student transportation. Central administration is located in no less than 4 buildings, which is not necessarily conducive to, a good central office or central administration working environment, although we make it work. It would be ideal if not a majority of the services were housed together, and it would probably provide some efficiencies for the district. But additionally, the operations department, our mechanics, the bus mechanics are not with our student transportation. That's been an issue for 20 years. So we're looking to house them together as well as our operations. And the one inherent benefit of finding or constructing a facility to house those support services, it removes them from the high school campus, and it enables us to make our high school campus more of just simply a high school campus. Right now, to attend events at the stadium, you have to walk through a maintenance yard to get there, which again is not ideal. But the first step in that is we've looked to master plan the development of a support services complex, or something complex to house our support services. We have had discussions with professionals, but the first step will be to bring in a professional to master plan that complex. The next step would move into hiring professionals in order to put documents together for the construction of a facility. And as part of this, and it was in 23, 24, was one of the goals was to find housing for our student transportation, which we did. But I'll point out to the board that our current accommodations, we have a 2-year lease with an option for a 3rd year, and the Board of Ed has the option for the 3rd. So we can select it or we can decline it. However, there's no guarantee into year 4. And as we all know, 2 years, and especially the 3rd year, is going to come very quick. So this is something that we are definitely going to have to move on and keep on schedule so that we're not in a crunch situation, 3 years from now. And that decision for, moving into the 3rd year has to be made, obviously, after the 2nd year, and subsequently a 4th year, we'll know in 3 years. But then the 3 bullets that are included is basically, obviously, will be funding dependent on being able to construct a facility. And that's one of the steps also, is ensuring or developing the funding in order to being able to construct such a facility. And one of the ways we continue to do that is our year-end resolution, taking excess surplus funds or funds from certain accounts and moving it into our capital reserve account so that we have the ability to fund capital projects on an annual basis, including improvements for, a district support services complex. Any questions?
I have a few. I appreciate the fact that we are meeting with our municipality, discussing the affordable housing plans, to have a sense of our demographics. When we talk about, I think the ideas of, when we hear redistricting conversation, I think that probably raises concern for families throughout the district. And since these are 24, 25 goals, I wonder if somebody could expand a little bit on who's going to be having those conversations, when those conversations are going to be. I'm sure they've already been some conversation, but at what point we are jumping in with both feet, and what that's going to look like, and how our families are going to be included in those conversations. That's my first question.
I can absolutely address that. This is not, this is something that is a very, very cumbersome and very, it impacts everybody in town. And it's something that these discussions are going to be happening in public. These discussions certainly will be happening at board meetings. There's going to be a tremendous amount of staff involvement. The parent advisory groups that you have that you mentioned earlier in the meeting certainly will be part of the communications. And it is right now, and you mentioned, and Mr. Smythe mentioned affordable housing and all of the required construction that is happening in the district. It's been quite a bit of a moving target. We had, as Mr. Smythe mentioned, in August 2021, we hired a demographer for an updated study. Things have even changed since that short amount of time. So part of the charge, and even on this month's F&F committee, is looking and analyzing, and the board will be receiving what was projected and what was actually actual, and also working closely with the town so we can, and the demographer, to see, okay, well, which projects are moving forward and which ones aren't. So the 2021 was really an intermediary step towards that conversation. We will be refining that even further. There will be continued discussion because it's not as simple as, oh, well, we need another building. I have had communications with parents. Well, with all this construction, do we need another school? Well, not necessarily, because we have, you need, in order to build a school, you need to show, essentially, you need to be overcrowded before you can move forward with a school. We are not overcrowded. We still have, we have capacity in the district. The challenge that we have right now is if you regularly watch our Board of Education meetings or attend, you'll hear about kindergarten enrollments. Periodically, I think it was 2 or 3 summers ago, Allenwood, we had a surge of kindergartners at Allenwood. This year, we had a surge of kindergartners at Old Mill. And students, once we're at capacity at the elementary school, students, depending on the date of registration, are assigned to not the anticipated school. For their neighborhood or their, or the one that their parents thought. We communicate it very clearly. Ms. McGowan, our district registrar, does an amazing job communicating. She goes to recreation. She goes to town hall. She goes to preschools to make sure that all parents have access to our flyers, to let them know that, hey, February is our, that's our kindergarten registration, also preschool registrations. So in order to get accurate numbers as quickly as possible. That said, there is a tremendous amount of planning. There'll be a tremendous amount of communications, and Goal 5, I'll steal a little bit of my Goal 5 because I think it fits best, which Goal 5 is communications. There will be correspondences, there will be website updates, there will absolutely be professionals that we have to bring in because we have to, we can't have an addition, we can't have a new school, we can't have these things if we're not at 100% capacity, and we're not at 100% capacity. So we do have room. So again, earlier I spoke about being being fiscally responsible to all taxpayers. That is a big part of our job. So we have to make sure that we are using our buildings efficiently. So that means that we have to see, okay, let's look at, we need the consultants to really help us dig deep, work with the demographers, and say, okay, how do we maximize our enrollment so that we can, and that may or may not include grade level adjustments, because I'll tell you, one of the difficult things, conversations that I have is telling parents that, that there's no seat room left in a classroom or that they moved to a town and they anticipated going to. So it's so we have to be long-term and strategic, and it's going to be a big job, certainly for the next 2 years, I can speak to. And the communication will be a huge part of that. And again, our website is a huge, really depository of information for us. So thank you.
And I think also, just to clarify, and I apologize if I misled, the steps being taken are not for, in preparation of redistricting, or not for the purpose of redistricting. They're being done, which are done on a regular basis, because we've done a number of demographics over the last 10 years. It's just something that the district should be doing to assess, what the projections are and what our facility capacities are to identify if, in fact, we are going to have any issues moving forward. And then we could have the discussion on possible solutions if in fact, there are accommodation issues.
Thank you for that clarification. I mean, obviously, a school district is a living, breathing entity, and it's always dynamic, and I appreciate the fact that there's so much work is done on the part of our administration, including our business administrator and our superintendent and everyone involved, so that we're ready to meet the needs if and when they do arise. My second question would be about the development of this district support services complex. Again, I certainly appreciate how much work has gone on in considering how we can best maximize where our staff is and the function of the district. Just for the sake of clarification, as that continues to be fleshed out, will that be fleshed out through our F&F committee and then reported out to the board at the meetings? Just a little bit of information about what that process is going to look like.
Absolutely. So, the discussion with professionals for the purposes of master planning would be vetted through the F&F committee, and all steps taken in that regard would obviously go through the F&F committee. And it's also being done as part of this discussion with the athletic facility improvements at the high school. for the referendum, because because there's certain projects or portions of the project that are included in the referendum, such as improvements to the stadium field. But as part of this process, the high school campus is being master planned, and everything being planned for the high school, or all the wants that we have for the high school complex are not going to be able to be funded by the referendum alone. But in master planning the high school campus, it kind of segues into the need to have a complex for support services, because again, our support services are housed on the high school complex, and our operations yard is, adjacent to the girls softball field right now. And it's just taking up valuable space on the high school complex that could be used, better used for the high school students. And I'll say it with regard to certain sports that are, the varsity sports that are primarily housed remote from the high school complex on 18th Avenue. The goal as part of this referendum and the discussion with different groups is to bring those varsity sports back to the high school campus. And even though that's included in the master plan, it can't be done with the support services being housed on the high school campus as well.
Thank you very much.
So short answer is yes, everything's going through.
I appreciate that. Does anyone else on the board have any questions for Mr. Smythe on this goal? I would like to say on behalf of the board, thank you for the hard work that has happened, through your office. Thank you to the people in Wall Township who supported the referendum. I think if you take a look at the website, the amount of projects that are happening, that have been completed and are slated is really, again, it's unbelievable how much progress that is galloping forward. And thank you very much to F&F for all your hard work, because that committee accomplishes a tremendous amount of work. Mr. Smythe, thank you for everything that you're doing and all the updates, and very much appreciated.
And I'll continue to give the updates. However, I would not be able to do that. And I have to give a shout out to Mr. Van Sickle. William Van Sickle, Bill is our facilities manager. He's here every morning. That guy is jumping school to school. He is in constant contact with the contractors on a daily basis, trying to coordinate their work as well as the work done by the school maintenance staff and custodial staff in order to get these schools open for September. I know people walking around the schools are like, can't imagine how it's going to be done, or they couldn't imagine it, a week or two ago. But with his efforts, and we're fortunate we've had very good contractors that we've been working with this summer in order to get the work completed and to get school open for September. But a lot of credit goes to Bill Van Sickle.
Thank you. Dr. Handerhan?
Hi, thank you very much, Mr. Smythe. And goal 5, our final goal, it is rooted in communications. And this evening, it's not an accident that goal 5 is the last one, which is communications, because clearly we have a whole lot to communicate this upcoming year. We have to share our goings-on with our families, with our community, but we also need to share some really good news. We need to share all the wonderful things that are happening in the school district with others, because I will tell you, I have a huge privilege in seeing everything that goes on a daily basis, and I want everyone in Wall Township to be as proud as I am every day coming to work. So there is a tremendous amount of communications that have to take place. This year, we are continuing to really bolster our building newsletters and certainly some of our department newsletters, student wellness. We have newsletters coming from curriculum instruction, special services, and our S'mores platform. If you have any interest in some of the wonderful things that are taking place in our buildings, go on our website, and our schools are doing, and departments are doing amazing jobs really putting together newsletters that come out twice a month. It is a great, awesome way to organize information, certainly with some of the busy schedules of some of our families. I mean, it's just a great place to have everything located in a nice, handy way. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and we will be really doubling down and bolstering them them up because they really have been, I think, an asset to the district based on the feedback that we received. As Mr. Smythe was talking about a lot of the projects, we've turned a corner, and a lot of our projects are going to be very visible projects. Many students are going to be coming back, seeing new bathrooms, so they're projects that people are going to notice. So much of the referendum, a lot of our work has been systems, electric, boilers. I mean, it's, first day of school, you don't really notice that we have, there's going to be a new boiler, next summer. But let me tell you, you're really grateful in January when the new boiler is here. So, so a lot of things, there's going to be a lot of visible projects happening, and we'll be communicating them as such, certainly with the athletic complex master planning at the high school. So I want to take this time to really invite people to go to our website, because Mr. Van Sickle, Ms. Serbowitz, Ms. Weiner they've been very, and Ms. McGowan have been very busy posting things on our website. So we have lots of pictures, befores and afters, and this will be happening over and over and over again. So, so please check that out, and that continues throughout the year, each year. And one thing I would like to mention as far as communications is really getting the word out about Wall Township. And we administratively have been writing proposals to speak at different conferences, different workshops, to really share what Wall Township is doing, because I think it's really important that we share with the greater population all the wonderful things that we're doing. So with that, we're definitely paying very close attention to that. Our Director of Curriculum of K-5, Ms. Erin Embon, had the opportunity to be part of a science of reading pedagogy think tank. Ms. Steiner participated at a national conference, and she presented at 7 Mindsets in Florida. So there's just we're really trying to actively get the word out about the wonderful things going on in the school district. So, stay tuned. I'm hoping that, we continue to write proposals and we'll get acceptances. And, yeah. Another big communications piece that we have is our website. We will be going through a major platform change this winter, so we will be needing to run systems concurrently as we make the switch over. That our vendor was purchased by another vendor, so there's going to be a lot of busy hands behind the scenes working on that, so that we can provide a seamless transition to our community, because our website was designed to be like I said, a depository of so much information for the community at large. And, we want to share the good news. And again, we are actively trying to get more social media followers. So just a reminder, snow days are posted first on social media. Just a reminder. So if you want hot off the press information before the robocall, follow us on social media. So you will, that is as fast as you're going to get it. So I think that after every snowfall, that's when we really have a peak in followers. So, beat the rush. That made no sense, I know that. But anyway, are there any questions? It's really about getting the word out there about Wall Township Public Schools, and also communicating a lot of the programming and projects that we have going on in the school and the school district. And much of that certainly is to follow up on Goal 4, referendum minded, and future planning, because we're not planning for the 24-25 school year. We're planning for the 2035-36 school year, and I think it's really important that that I stress that, because it's not just we're looking far beyond what we're up to in the next school year. So that is a big part of our charge. So are there any questions with respect to communications? Okay. Ms. Stites?
Thank you, Dr. Handerhan. I think, again, progress made on this is incredible, and I know that we're not going to sit where we are and that we're going to continue to move communications forward. Very excited. I'm really excited to see that we're going to have student communications interns and helping out. I think that's going to be great for our students, so that's awesome.
Absolutely, and it does tie directly into the CTE goals that you asked Ms. McCann about specifically.
Perfect. All right. At this time, do any of our board members have anything to add, any questions, any input regarding these goals? If there's anything that you think of before our next meeting, we will be adopting at September's meeting these goals. I thank everyone for your hard work. Again, I thank my fellow board members for everything that you've done, sitting here for several hours again on a summer evening, but it's tremendously important work that you're accomplishing. And as a fellow board member and as a parent of students in this district, I thank you for everything that you are doing for us. At this time, may I please have a motion to adjourn? Ms. DiGiovanni, may I have a second? Second. Mr. Buffa, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, so we will see folks back in September, and have a wonderful, safe remainder of the summer.